Our top story today, the Oval Office meeting between the leaders of the U.S. and Ukraine. In just hours, President Volodymyr Zelensky will be at the White House. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says President Trump will tell Zelensky about his conversation with Vladimir Putin. Several leaders from Europe and NATO are in Washington presenting a united front with Ukraine. One French general told the AP Europeans are concerned about a blow-up like the last time we saw Trump and Zelensky in the Oval Office. On Face the Nation yesterday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said enough progress was made at Friday's meeting in Alaska. He also told our Margaret Brennan that both sides will have to make concessions to see an end to the fighting.
Did you hear anything from Vladimir Putin that indicated he is willing to make a single concession?
Well, I think there are a couple. They were not enough for Ukraine. If not, we would be announcing a peace deal this morning, right? But certainly there are some things we noticed changes. There are some changes that I think are possible.
Meanwhile, the fighting is showing no signs of slowing down. A Russian drone attack killed at least 7 people in the eastern Ukrainian city of Kharkiv overnight. The victims include a toddler and a 16-year-old. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Holly Williams has more from Ukraine.
For over 3 years now, Ukrainians have been fighting to defend every square foot of their country. They have been applauded for their courage, but make no mistake, they are exhausted by this war. Nearly 70% of Ukrainians now support a negotiated peace deal, according to a recent poll, and that's up from just over 20% at the beginning of the invasion. Yet the devil is in the details. President Volodymyr Zelensky has said it would be unconstitutional to permanently cede to Russia the parts of his country that are currently under occupation. That is around a fifth of Ukraine's territory. And many Ukrainians who we've spoken to say that giving up swaths of their country and the people who live there is not a price they're willing to pay, even if it brings peace. Meanwhile, Ukraine and its allies in Europe also fear that sacrificing Ukrainian territory to Russia would set a dangerous precedent, effectively rewarding Vladimir Putin for his invasion and even encouraging him to do it again. Back to you.
Holly Williams, thank you. Well, for more on President Trump's meeting with Zelensky, let's go to CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes. Nancy, good morning. All indications are President Trump seems to be more aligned with Putin following their summit on Friday. How could that impact today's meeting with Zelensky?
Well, it could definitely make for a tense meeting, Michael, especially because in some key areas, President Trump appears to have shifted his position after speaking with Vladimir Putin. For example, before the summit in Alaska, President Trump was saying that there needed to be a ceasefire and that if that did not take place, if Putin did not agree to one, then there would be serious, severe consequences. Well, after meeting with President Putin, President Trump said that you don't really need a ceasefire. You can go directly to a peace agreement, which is something that Putin has been pushing for and something that really alarms Zelensky and other European leaders who say Putin needs to prove that he is going to stop the killing first before they start talking about things like divvying up territory. Territory will be another major sticking point, by the way, because what Putin is floating, according to European officials, is basically that he could keep all the territory that he has seized and then some in exchange for a written promise that he won't attack again. That is something that Zelensky is likely to reject. So it could make for a challenging meeting here at the White House. And of course, we all recall how challenging the last meeting at the White House was between Zelensky and President Trump 6 months ago.
And Nancy, we're also learning that First Lady Melania Trump has written a personal letter to Putin. What do we know about that?
Yes, this was a letter that President Trump, according to the White House, delivered to Putin directly on Friday in Alaska. It very gently urges Vladimir Putin to return the estimated 20,000 children who were kidnapped by the Russians from Ukraine at the start of this war. She doesn't say that directly, but basically makes allusions to the fact that children should be able to live free in the country of their origin. And this weekend, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that that is something that they have pushed in every conversation, that Russia needs to return the children who were stolen from their parents.
All right, Nancy Cordes at the White House, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.